Ladies and gents, welcome back to the Call of Duty Challengers Cup number 2. And just first and foremost, before we do get into it, I want to give a huge shout out to Visions for covering my shit today. No, your boys had a busy Sunday, unfortunately. So Visions came in and covered it fantastically with Nfinity. You guys killed all these casts. So thank you very much to you guys for holding the fort. But I am now back in the room and back into some Call of Duty. Very excited to get into this one, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. And it couldn't be a better final, I think, today, right? It's kind of unfortunate that we've seen teams like House Taff and Singularity fall. However, this does set us up for a rematch that was so good for what that last game was. Of course, if you cast your mind back to the winners bracket round 2, or the winners bracket final, sorry, it was Orgless facing off against the RAMS. Now, that is what our grand final looks like. Back then, it went all the way to game 5. Round 11, and Ninja Dqvee is what decided it between the two, and it was insane. It was just an insane game. The hard point alone, I think, is just completely exemplar of what that series was. So I'm excited to see what they bring to the table here, because for a team like Orgless that have, I think, a lot of experience, I don't think they're going to go down without a fight. We could well see a second best of 5 here.
I mean, how many times did we see them come back from having to go through that losers bracket last year? It was one of those things where they became a bit notorious for that one. And I think especially when you look at the first series, it could have gone either way. It's not like sometimes you see a winners final. It's one-sided. It's a comfortable win for the team that go on at the grand final. We then get a rematch up of that winners bracket final, which was ever so close. So we get into another close game. I think we're going to 2 best out of 5s here, if I'm honest. I think it's not necessarily a bold prediction. As I've said, we know that this team last year, albeit slightly different roster, it has form in going into these 2 best out of 5s, and we had one last week as well. So it'd be rude not to continue that trend, of course. But I think everybody will notice now I'm not in my kitchen. You can see me properly today, which is always a positive as well. I don't think the kitchen cast was that bad, actually. I was pleasantly surprised at how well the bringing my mic stand and everything downstairs worked out. It seemed to be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. You did well. You did well for a kitchen cast, Tunn. Yeah, that's the one compliment you get per card, which is I'm already expending it in the first 10 minutes. But yeah, I'm so excited to get into this one. I think you're absolutely right to call it. This will go to a second best of 5. Obviously, we don't know that for a fact. For all we know, Orgless could come out here. They could not have such a good time, and Rams could capitalize on that. But you cast your mind back to that winners bracket final. It could have been a 3-0 to Orgless, right? If that map number 1 goes another way, it could well have been an Orgless. It's literally just lucky spawn in from behind. So honestly, we shall see how this goes. But a second best of 5 absolutely on the cards. And of course, it is Orgless coming from the losers bracket that need to perform that feat. Can they do it? That's the question. And we're returning to Crossroads Strike, which was so eventful in the winners bracket final for our first map of this grand final.
Indeed. I mean, I just caught the rear end of it, but that was where the action was, wasn't it? 250 to 249, a stunning game between these two. And can we have that same performance out of them? I do wonder. But Rams against No Og right now, and it should be a very, very tasty grand final. And for the first time, we're seeing this former Team War roster. Although saying that, we keep calling it that as Lucky comes in with a shot punch. What year am I in here? Is that Black Ops 4? We do pick things off, but we talk about this being the former War roster, but it has really changed up. We have seen Nastie on there, obviously, previously. Joshh has obviously got history with these players as well. They should all be well versed together nonetheless. But it has been a very, very good start for the Rams. Yep. It is going to be this final with the scrap time going over towards Orgless as we do make this rotation over towards P2. And, when we talk about rotations being important for teams, etc., this map is one of those that, yes, okay, they are important, but it's so small that these breaks can come in thick and fast, and then you can be rebroke yourself again as well. So it really is going to come down to who's got that slaying ability, who can get these pincers in and try and get the pinches in over towards these specific hills. This is going to be an important kill. If Nastie can find it, it's going to be JurNii to find this one this time round, though, and it's a good rotation out of Rams either way, and then should be able to hold this one down, but we can see that Orgless have infiltrated the hill and should be able to pick up some points here.
And again, Joshh going to have final say here as he picks up that kill on the JurNii. And I just want to take a moment to talk about Joshh as a player, right? I mean, again, we were having these discussions last week about how well Joshh will fit in, of course, returning from a year off competing on the Paris Legion as a coach. And, I mean, he's played so well. He was MVP of that last map for sure, and game of 3 versus House Taff. And really, I think he's just such a good player. Coming out to play here on this roster has immediately found his place. And And I think it's fair to say, right, a big reason for that is because, of course, he has experience with these players. He was on Team War at the end of Call of Duty Black Ops 3, the last try-up game, by the way. So big reason for that here, and once again, coming out to play on this Orgless team. But so far, in this one, Tunn, pretty even, as we do see the Rams lose control of the munitions hill to Orgless.
That's been a quite easy push through, and there's so many different routes you can take, isn't it? You go big door, you go small side door, you can go across catwalk. It's not necessarily a hard one to break. So Orgless now just containing themselves in it. You don't need necessarily expand away. You're probably looking towards the next hill, though, let's be honest. But the kill's starting to come through for Rams momentarily. Nastie finds 2 to defend, though. All alone, can he find the 3rd? Not quite. Mettalz will clean up, but Joshh is there to pick up the pieces for Orgless. Fantastic stuff from them. Is going to lock down the majority of this time if they can pick up this 20. But this is an inspired performance from Joshh so far. 7-4 out of him. He was on a 5 spree. And the thing is with Joshh, he's this player who can offer a little bit more as Rams do break back. He offers a little bit more in other departments, but if he's a player who's slaying as well, you are getting a fully formed Joshh, aren't you, really? If he can continue to put up those numbers, it's a massive, massive plus for Orgless. But right now, it is going to be the rotation belonging over to the Rams, really the only one where you really can lock down a good chunk of time. Team's still trying to get used to this one, but Dave finds 2, Joshh finds another, and another as well. Fantastic break, and a seamless one at that for Orgless as they get control of P4, and they have a 20-point lead and looking to extend. And
it really is this SMG presence, right, on a map that is so small, such as Crossroad Strike. I mean, this SMG presence so important to get, but JurNii going to come through with his SMG, the AK-74U, picks up Dave, and immediately Control is going to flip back to the Rams here as they now look to get the majority of time off the back of this hardpoint. And if you are this Orgless side, you don't really want to push this too heavily, right? You've already got control of the spawns, not only for APC hardpoint, but for the Annex, for P2. So you are going to give this time to the Rams. You see now Orgless setting up for this next. Dave now going to look for that kill. Unfortunately, you're not going to find it as Envdian just lasers him from that last hill. And nobody actually from Orgless over here on this rotation. Dave falling, that has quite a profound effect.
Nobody able to jump in initially, but Nastie eventually gets in there. Can he get the cover as well? Not quite, but just about, as Mettalz is the only one to find a kill. Shot's going to come in here from Dave. He's going to have to be influential here towards this hill. We got Lucky and Cole pushing down the right-hand side, but Dave will very, very happily take the head glitch and find the kill. Inside the point now. This has been a good start between these two teams, very, very close. But Orgless starting to create a small gap here. It's not ginormous, and they won't be resting on the laurels of that one, but it's good enough to sort of say you are in a decent enough lead here. But keep an eye on number 4. It is going to be JurNii, the one coming around behind. Is he going to be able to help his team pick up this final 20? It seems so. We're all looking towards that rotation over towards P2. It is going to be Orgless spawning out. Should be the Rams here first.
And these kills again for this rotation so crucial. Of course, you mentioned the fact that Org have built themselves a somewhat of a solid lead here off the back of that hill. Certainly the biggest we've seen so far in this game. You look at this rotation, Joshh gets an important gunfight. He wins that first kill against JurNii, but still, it's the Rams in control for now. Players round the back, Envdian inside with this Krig 6, looking for these kills. Hasn't had the best start so far at 7 and 9. Of course, low engagement, that's to be expected for an AR on this map. Joshh now finds his way through, looks for number 1, looks for number 2, gets it in from behind. Joshh, crucial gunfights to win. Nastie and Dave are there for the follow-up as well, and Orgless, they find a way in, they break it.
I think, as I mentioned before, if you're a team going up against Orgless and you're coming in, you're sort of seeing Joshh going 18 and 10, you've got to know that you're going to have difficulties on your side. If you're looking at Nastie and Vortex putting up the numbers, that's to be expected. But if Joshh is starting to slay as well, you know the rest of them are going to be there to pick it up with him too. Vortex trying to lock this one down. Envdian probably going to make the push in a second, does so, but into the pistol fire. And that's going to be the final 10 going over towards Orgless. This rotation belongs to them as well. Look at that. It's a perfectly timed flip. They only give up 5 seconds of scrap time because they flip the spawns back over towards P3. Flawless out of the British side so far. Nastie at 20 and 13 on a full streak as well. But what can Rams do? The Spanish side trying to make the push on through. Joshh finds bullets in, but not quite as many kills as he would have liked. But Dave and Nastie picking up the pieces once again. It's only Envdian here to try and break on through. He will be cleaned up, but it's been very, very good so far from Orgless. Can they keep this one going? Dave now with the SMG in front. It's a good bait and switch coming in from the Rams. Can they manage to make this break? Good shots by Lucky for the rest of the team. Are they going to be here to try and break this one through? Eventually, some 3 points will come towards the Spanish side, but they really have not been given an inch so far in the last 2 hills.
Rams now looking for this break. And I think the big problem here for the Rams is, of course, not only do you have now a commanding lead in favor of Orgless, but look where the spawns are. We move over towards that next hard point. Orgless getting every single second of time. They also win that first batch of gunfights. This is a bit of a worrying position for the Rams to be in. And of course, you say it, Tunn. Look how far they are spawning out. And when you've got a player just Eldrigging down that left line of sight like they should be doing right now, it's a real problem that you just cannot break through. This needs to be a very, very quick break from the Rams, because I believe there is still opportunity for the tick over to come through from Orgless. The kill's coming through now. Lucky, stuck between a rock and a hard place. He can do absolutely nothing when he's surrounded by Orgless players, and Joshh now is going to fall. Rams trying to find their way through, but again, it's this blue wall that they just keep on hitting. Nobody can break it, and the Rams looking now down the barrel of potentially losing this map one if they don't get into this hill.
This could be won by Orgless here. Just about will get the tick, as you mentioned, but it will take literally a millisecond of contestant time to come in, or somebody to be pushed off it. But right now, it's not looking likely. It looks like the tick might have just slipped there by the looks of things. Orgless will not be able to lock it in here over towards this hill, but my goodness me, they will be very, very close. And we said, you know, maybe these spawns aren't necessarily as influential if you do get that rotation locked down, but if you're Orgless, you are clapping back at that idea, because my goodness, you held that down almost perfectly. Joshh has had a fantastic game with 27 and 18, and this should surely be a formality. After a very close game in the first map in the winners bracket finals, it will be some comeback for Rams to come back into this one now. Kills not quite flowing in their direction just yet, as Joshh and Nastie find a couple in the middle of the map. Nastie, that might be the final nail in the coffin, as JurNii is all alone. They jump inside the hill. Can they get this one done? Vortex is in, the kill's in, and that is map number 1. To go over towards the Orgless British side now, 250 to 146. And that is the sort of start you would have wanted if you're them. Coming in with a comfortable win on a map that was so close between these two teams before, and a big reason as to why they found themselves with such a comfortable win is the performance out of players like Nastie, the performance out of players like Joshh. Just putting Rams to the sword, they couldn't keep up the pace.
Absolutely. That's a very different crossroads strike to what we saw in the winners bracket final, right? I mean, what? Back then, 250, 249. This time around, Orgless haven't absolutely none of that. And as you rightly pointed out, right, all down to the performances out of Joshh and Nastie, of course, just SMG presence that I don't think was quite matched there by the Rams. Now, although that was a relatively dominant performance, I'd say it's an extremely comfortable scoreline, I think, for Orgless to look at. There are maybe a few reasons for this, of course. Fact of the matter is, Rams did win that winners final quite some time ago. So while they might have just been shooting bots or playing pubs or maybe wagers, whatever, they're still going to be cold coming into this. They have little momentum. Whereas you take a look at a roster like Orgless, they've just come off a 3-0 against House Taft. So there is that to consider, I think, when you take a look at this matchup. But it is a 1-0 nonetheless for Orgless. And again, Joshh and Nastie, man, I just, you can't underrate players like this. Again, I set it up at the start of the map. We were talking about sort of how good of a player Joshh will be this year, given the fact that he has had a year off coaching the Paris Legion. He has answered those qualms easily, just so well, man. Yeah. He's doing brilliantly on this roster.
He's finding his groove, isn't he? And I think something that I talked about with Joshh whenever I was watching them play, when we seen them play last week, he plays a different game to everybody else. He's trying to do different things on the map for his team, but on top of that, you don't just get necessarily that kind of Joshh, and sometimes you'll go quite a few negative, but if you get that package from him, and then on top of that you find a slaying game, you're laughing all the way to the bank if you're this team. So if Joshh can continue that sort of form, they're going to be very, very difficult to beat. Excuse me. But right now, they'll not be too concerned about Josh's performance. If he keeps playing well, then fantastic. If he drops down to maybe not putting up the numbers, but keeps doing his job that he does so well, they'll still be more than happy. It's definitely a bonus if Joshh is putting up those sort of numbers. But heading in towards this next game, I'm curious to see if the Spanish side can bounce back. I do possibly believe that might have been on the host over in the UK, actually. So obviously going over towards the S&D, we will be moving over towards the Spanish host, and it will be a really good game to win if you are Orgless heading into the search. But we're just waiting for an invite to get into the I mean, looking at the map set though, Brodie, I mean, what's your thoughts when we do see the rest of this game unfolding? Of course, we've got Crossroads coming up next. Mm-hmm. How are we feeling about Crossroads S&D? You were saying you haven't actually had a chance to cast this map yet. It's fast and furious, as you can imagine. Hardpoint very, very similar on this map. But what are your feelings towards this series overall when you see these maps?
I think it's kind of funny, right? Because last year when I got to cast EG Mult of 3.0, which was the one that was on LAN, I hadn't actually casted Piccadilly Search and Destroy at all. Not
You
once.
hadn't cast Piccadilly? I felt like it was the
until
only
that
Search and
point-
Destroy I've seen.
Yeah, well, nobody liked it apparently in the European amateur scene all the way back in the EG, and we got to cast it in, I think it was the grand finals where they voted it in. I had completely forgotten that Piccadilly was in the rota. I had no idea. I was like, "Oh, it was Piccadilly. What's that?" That's how I feel about Crossroads Strike as a search and destroy map. I had forgotten, although it's a little bit more excusable considering there's been very little chances to cast, I think, thus far. This map is going to play very, very slow. There's, of course, the bomb site over towards A, and the other one B, inside munitions. So again, you are going to be seeing some SMG presence here on this map. It's going to be super crucial, but we're jumping right into it for the Rams versus Orgless. Remember, folks, Orgless 1-0 up after their prior win on Hardpoint on this very map. And to kick things off, a very fast approach here. And I've just realized that you guys cannot see Search and Destroy. I completely forgot that. So apologies for that, guys, but we'll try and keep you updated, at least somewhat, with what's going on.
It's a shame because it's one of those maps that it's fast and furious. It's all about the break. I mean, look, if you look towards Modern Warfare, it was very much about that 5-man stack. You make the push towards the bomb site, you see the trades out. That was very much S&D on Modern Warfare in a nutshell. However, we don't feel as if Cold War is that way intended so much, but on this map, it is. It fully is that. It can be very fast and furious, and right now, Joshh has found himself in a fantastic position. Not going to be able to quite clean up the 1v2 there, but now a 1v1. Envdian against Dave, so the two main ARs on the team going up against each other to close out round number 1. But it's one of those that can be very, very fast, especially when we see a hit towards B. A is maybe where you see things slow down a little bit, but these initial engagements are about meeting in the middle of the map and who can find the kills and who can get the most real estate, if you like. But Dave has actually spotted Envdian as this push does come on through. He should be able to find the kill. He knows what's going on. He may well get a bomb defused for his cause as well, but not quite going to happen. No time for Envdian to plant that one down. A fairly simple round in the end. It comes down to a 1v1, but Joshh, once again, I think he finds 3 kills in that round. Just a constant thorn in the side of this Rams squad. But I just want to touch on, whilst we're not actually casting, you don't necessarily need to jump in. When I actually seen Rams play this game the other day, they were phenomenal. And I think if I remember rightly, it might have been against the squad, or no, it was up against House Tarth, but it was a very, very good game at the start, and House Tarth came back. So once the other team figured out what Rams were doing, which was just, I mean, to be honest, running at them, once they figured out what was going on, we did see a comeback coming on through from House Tarth. So I'm intrigued to see if these two teams do adapt throughout this S&D, but right now it is a 1v3 for Dave, and I'm curious that I have actually spoke for a whole 2 rounds here, so I'll maybe let you get your opinion across about Crossroads S&D, but what I've seen from Rams is solid. Let's see if they can continue this one apiece now.
You guys get to see a few of these best plays, at least, Mettalz, and you're seeing a little bit of the Spanish rush that you were talking about. I mean, it's kind of what we were talking about last Challengers Cup, where it's like, it seems to be the Spanish way, where these teams just kind of run at the other and they rely on this.
But it works, though. It works.
Yeah, exactly. Unanswered aggression that they seem to get working in their favor. And we'll see whether or not Orgless do find a reply to that. Because Mettalz on a 4 spree, I believe he would have got an ace, actually, in that round there. So really well played from Mettalz to kick things off. Able to tie this one up at 1-1. Joshh seems to have slowed down, at least from that last round. Let's see if now he can start to kick things off. But lucky with this sniper rifle. He was so good earlier on Checkmate with this. I don't know if he'll be able to provide the same kind of coverage. This actually spot, so without giving too much away, because obviously we can't say what the strategies are, there is a spot on this map where the sniper rifle is literally the only spot in the game on this map where a sniper rifle can actually be useful. I feel like, and it's the one that Lucky is using right now. So, bit of an odd choice to still go with that sniper rifle, but there you go. Dave takes down Lucky, and that's the problem. You don't want to peek out the window because Dave has your number.
Dave may be a little bit too keen to get away in that situation. Does get taken down by Envdian, but now it's 2v2 between these two, and everyone's sort of split up. Yep. Nobody with any sort of control. I don't know if they got any idea where the bomb is, but all of a sudden, it is actually Envdian in a 1 versus 2, and it's not a surprise to see him as the last man alive on this team, and that's not a slight to him. He does play a slower game, which can be beneficial for the squad, but I think the problem is the pacing issue, isn't it? I mean, you look at the other three that are on the RAMS squad, Lucky, Mettalz, and JurNii. We're talking head down, SMG in hand, I'm flying at you. And then you got Envdian. It's big chilling all the time. But right now, that's why he's found himself in a 1v2. Not looking solid for the win here, actually. He's struggling to climb up a rock, if anything. But looking for kills, maybe to close out the round. Knows it was going to always be a difficult situation to be in. But a 1v2, you would like to see him maybe try this something out there. But choking that one up. And this is the trade that he did manage to come in with towards the end. Not sure if Connie would have shown you that one. Nothing spectacular coming in there, but I said he's one of these players who does come through, and he is quite often going to be the last alive for his squad.
Yeah, absolutely. And Envdian, it kind of feels like just a player that just L triggers, of course, being the main AR for this team. It's not at all surprising that he is left up in these situations. He's not going to be the aggressor, much like Mettalz is for this roster. So that's why you'll see him stay alive in these 1 versus X situations. But a really quick play here from Orgless, and it really does go to show just how small this map is. His bomb is already over at A. First blood comes in, JurNii just spits on Nastie. Now a 4 versus 3 scenario, Orgless. They still have the bomb in their favor, but as Dave takes down Mettalz, you feel like the situation becoming less manageable for all the RAMS. JurNii and Envdian, though, they make it possible. They pick up a kill each. Now 1 versus 2 here. Vortex, he's been such a good player in the past. I've sung enough praise for him, I feel like, today, and now he has to earn it with this 1 versus 2. This position's so good. He gets the first goal. He doesn't have enough bullets in the body. No! Don't miss it. He does.
Oh, he got it. Well, right.
My God.
What was that? What was that? Can we see that? Because I mean, is he? Oh no, he's shooting in between his legs by the looks of things.
Oh no, he's shooting his balls off.
I mean, he wasn't though, because it wasn't hitting anything. I don't know if there's much downstairs there. Wow, that was weird. That was very strange. I thought we had, like, you know, one of the glitches that we had on Modern Warfare, like the rock glitch where you would be shooting but it's hitting the rock. Like, it's more of like a Warzone thing, isn't it? Yeah. I thought we were having a case of that, but not this time around. Dave finding the opening pick on the Mettalz though. He's putting in good work with this sniper rifle, Dave. Solid job so far. Actually found himself a 2nd kill on this round, and that's a very, very quick win for Orgless. And bearing in mind, this is on the Spanish host as well, so just bear that one in mind. It's sort of not necessarily an extra added bit of confidence, but if you are taking maps on the opponent's host when it is across the continent, then, you know, you've got to take every little win when you can on the opposition's host. And I think if you're RAMS, you know, you don't want to default to say you have to win your maps on your host, but it's definitely something that you want to be looking to do. And I think that made sense what I just said. Who knows?
I'm not sure. I won't comment on it, but still.
You know what I mean, though. You want to win on your host when it's so influential, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, you know, when it comes to these Spanish versus UK face-offs, I think that's the big thing, is that host is so important. And that's not to say that either of these two teams are online teams. That is not the case, by far and away. These guys are history players. They know exactly what they are doing in all situations. But of course, online is very important, you know, when it comes to that host situation. So this is a big map that RAMS need to win. And they do finally show some resistance here. Of course, they did already have 1 round on the board, but now they're able to find a 2nd. And one thing I do want to say as well is, right, you kind of pointed out the fact that Dave was doing super well with these sniper rifles. I feel like if you're, you know, having that head-on-head right now between Lucky and Dave, and albeit Lucky's actually put away that sniper rifle, you know, Lucky's 0-5. Dave has been winning that one-on-one situation for at least the first 4 to 5 rounds. It's been a real problem, and that's why you can actually see now Lucky just choosing to put away that sniper rifle. He knows it's not working out for him. I kind of like that adaptation, but he actually needs to start getting some kills on the board.
Yep, still nothing for him, but may have an opportunity in a second. And I think, you know, when you look towards these big opening engagements, that's obviously going to suit RAMS in the way that they play. And at the same time, if you're on your host, excuse me, it makes so much sense to try and do that as well, doesn't it? You're coming into these big gunfights between the two teams. You like to think, you know, if you've got connections slightly on your side, you try and force that issue as much as you can. But right now, Lucky, without a kill, is left in a 1 versus 2. And for anybody in the chat who is asking, it is going to be 2 best out of 5s if we need it. Of course, the Orgless squad need to win 2, but if you're RAMS, you only need to win the 1. This will be a big round for RAMS to pick up if lucky. Well, as I speak it, he peeks around the corner into Dave's scope, who will quite happily find this one. Not much to see in the best player, apart from Lucky peeks it. Dave says thank you very much. And we'll find the kill. Now a solid 5-2 lead for Orgless. They'll be looking to go 2-0 up in this grand final. And I think, you know, when you're speaking of 2 best out of 5s, if you're on the losing side of it, technically, you are the one that has to win those 2 best out of 5s. Getting the first one out of the way in the 3-0 is definitely something that can be beneficial heading into the second series. It can just give you that confidence as Dave continues with the sniper rifle here. 5-2 up in 4v3, and they're looking to close this one. Oh my goodness me, I hope that's the best play. As Dave finds a second with the sniper, and it's looking good here for Orgless.
3 versus 2 scenario for Orgless to find themselves in here. It's Lucky and Mettalz left up. Mettalz has been the best performing player on this RAMS roster, and no surprise there, of course, being one of the primary SMGs on this team.
Oh, Lucky.
Now has to win a 1 versus 3, and Lucky, man, he's joining the agency. Got a little James Bond over it.
Yeah.
0 and 7. It's you know, it's not like he can't come back from this right now if Mettalz does pull off a 1 versus 3, but that might be his final scoreline. And Joshh spots out Mettalz. No problem at all. That's so unfortunate for Lucky because he was having a spectacular game early on in the first series, and well, hasn't really turned up for the Search and Destroy.
Yeah, that's a rough one. We're not going to get to see Dave's best player, but we are going to see some fantastic shots by Joshh to close this one out. Mettalz was obviously clearly already out by the squad, and there you go. It's going to be a 6-2 victory, and that is very, very comfortable as we head over towards the control. I'm curious if we're actually staying on this host. It looks that way, so we will be staying on a Spanish host as we do go over towards the control. And I think, you know, if you are Orgless, once again, I think you're happy with that when you go towards a game mode that can, on occasion, be 50-50 in terms of how it is going to go down. It's not necessarily set in stone who is the better control teams. I think, you know, when it comes down to control at this moment in time, I heard you speaking about it before. It's very hard to distinguish who are good control teams right now. I think, you know, both these 2 teams are proficient in it, but at this moment in time, it's very, very hard to distinguish who is doing something very, very well because it is so defensively heavy at this moment in time. I think the only team who I was like pretty convinced were a very, very good control team so far were SMG. I loved what I've seen out of them so far, but obviously they crashed out the tournament, which was a surprise to me. If I'm honest with you, but we are just having a little bit of an issue with one of the players here, so we'll get them back in the lobby as soon as we can. But so far, so good for Orgless, has to be said. 2-0 up and taking an S&D on the opposition host is obviously a nice thing to do. And thank you to everybody who is coming to hang out in the chat. Over 1,000 of you sitting around coming to watch us cast over some Call of Duty, so that's nice to see. And it's the grand finals, of course, of this second Challengers Cup. And I mean, the biggest thing that surprised me is the fact that it's only 7:05 here in the UK, and we're getting this thing underway. What was it, 11 p.m. before we got things finished up? I mean, look, we could still get there if we're talking all the way through. You know, you never know. But at this point in time, I might have jinxed it for us here, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, this could well be a 3-0 as well. I think that's the key thing. Although we are still, I believe, staying on the Spanish host, this could still well be a 3-0. I mean, I believe it was this very map in the winners bracket final for game number 3, and it was a round 5 that went Orgless's way between these 2 teams. I could be making that up as I say that now, but I'm pretty sure that was the case. But again, you know, this is one of the weirdest maps. I really like. I probably wouldn't like playing it, but I really like casting this map. There's something about it which just it feels kind of it has rules in it, which it might sound dumb, but like it's so hard to take offense on B, and you know there is a linear path you need to take if you are on the offense, which is get B, then go for A, and of course you can flip that up and trying to go for A first, make life easier to go for B, and that seems to be the success story for a number of teams on this map, which is that you send a player over towards A, at least split the attention of the defensive side. So that you can have a chance over towards B. But speaking, the rule with this map is, and I know it does apply to control generally, is you just cannot take the offense. It's so hard. And it feels like every single offensive round, these teams are learning more. It feels like you're going in with this clean slate, every single control garrison, and then you learn more as you move up more in terms of taking B or taking A as you get into that round number 5, and then round 5 just explodes with whoever team is on the offense and defense.
Yeah.
So that seems to be the way this map has gone so far. I really like casting it for that reason. It seems to present us with some lovely moments, as it did earlier on with House Tarf, right? Afro ends up coming up clutch with 5-3 in the final moments, really just saved their bacon against Obtained.
He did. And I think, Obtained are another team who I thought, have looked really good throughout the controls as well. And I'm interested to see how they go on. A much better result for them this week as well. I think that's something to speak on than they did last week. I think it was maybe top 12 or top 16 last week. And a much better performance, I think, I do believe, at the top 4 throughout this weekend. So that's a fairly decent showing from them, and it's nice to see some different teams in the final compared to last week. 2 completely different teams in the grand final. So just showing that pecking order, so to speak, in Europe has not quite yet distinguished itself, and we will still be struggling to get a hold of who is at the very top so far. We've already seen House Tarth win previous last week's Challenger Cup. We've seen SNG win the Astro Community Tournament through the week. We're now looking at 2 completely different teams in the grand final. Not saying that there is inconsistency, but it's nice to see that these teams are still finding their feet and teams to still figure out the game. I think that's what it comes down to, and I think it will take until January, February before we do get to a point where we have figured out what's going on. But I do believe we're having some issues with the lobby, so I tell you what, we're going to go to a very, very short break. Whilst we do get this one figured out, we are having some issues with scan and repair as per usual. Hopefully that one gets fixed as the year goes on, but we are having some small issues, so we'll go to a short break, and we'll be back after this with the control. All right, ladies and gents, welcome back into the control we go. That lobby issue I said that we were having was swiftly resolved, as is always typical whenever I call for a break. But here we go, into the control, and it's basically, let's see who can win an attack. It's one of these things when it comes down to Garrison. I wouldn't say it's the worst one for trying to win attacks on, but certainly not the easiest either. But a good start for the Rams. Of course, we are on the Spanish host, so bear that one in mind whilst we get through this game. They will really be wanting to take this map and, of course, to keep themselves in this series. Nastie is going to find 2 kills to answer back to Lucky's 2 to start things off, but it's a good start so far for the Orgless side. They'll be quite happy to find themselves in this position, but Mettalz finds 2, and Rams will try to get something going over towards this B side, and then it's the push over towards A. My goodness, Lucky is just spotting the Joshh, and this is looking good for early B control. That's
an important one-on-one. You got to win as well if you're the Rams, and win it they do, of course, as Joshh could have really enabled a takeover of this B point for Orgless. And here's the problem, right, for Orgless is, I mean, you've got to really choose. Do you really want to risk some lives trying to push for this? Or do you just give up zone B and make sure you keep control of A? And they're going for the former of the team as Vortex and Nastie gets the first couple of kills. And there you go. They break in. JurNii's still alive, but they managed to prevent the capture at least and regain some map control.
I think it's one of those things that if you can maybe find a kill on the outset, like in and around the hill, then maybe you're looking to maybe make that push. It's about judging the situation, isn't it? If it's looking like it's completely choked, they got a 4-man setup, then yes, okay, just leave it alone. But I think if you can maybe find the kills somewhere where you can start to get a push from a different direction, then maybe you are laughing in terms of making that push. But I think it's very situational. But at this moment in time, the situation that we have on our hands here is Rams getting a hold of B. I would imagine that Orgless might leave this one alone, but there you go. They find 1 kill. They start to make the push. This time it's not going to work out, though. Nastie's the only one there, and he's going to have to come up with something, as is Dave. But they come up with the goods, and they keep them a bit all by themselves. 22 seconds, and if you're looking towards these respawns as well, it's not necessarily any different between these 2 teams. Dave and Vortex finding kills over towards B. We can see a push has come in for the Rams over towards A, though. Envdian is just slowing this one down. I don't think they'll be too concerned about him with this one, though. And Joshh is going to try and get a hold of this one. Maybe just contest if he can, as the rest of the team looking to defend over towards B. Joshh finds the kill on A. They've got B locked down here as well. It's looking like a pretty good Orgless win in round number 1. Fantastic play from them, and they've just locked down where they needed to. They picked their fights where they needed to as well. And with 3 seconds to go, not going to happen here for the Rams squad. A good round number 1 to kick things off for Orgless.
And again, that offensive curse just strikes again on this map. You just can't break it. They did get very close, to be fair. And I really want to give props to Orgless. They did not give that up.
They picked their fights right, though, didn't they? They picked the fights.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they won those one-on-one engagements. I thought for a second, as soon as Joshh lost that opening gunfight, they wouldn't go for it. But again, and this is something we've seen Orgless do in the past. I think it was actually in the first Challengers Cup, the very first match that you and I got to cast. They stormed through control, and that's how they regained control of that B zone. So it works out for them in the end. Orgless going to strike first hit. RAMS unable to break the way through. Let's see if the opposite can happen here, though, as we see now Orgless on the offense.
Let's see how they break it down, though. We're going to try and think different. Seems not. Got control of top green, though. The push coming through. Joshh is unfortunately going to find his teammate, but Dave is there to pick up the pieces, and it is an A hit. Unfortunately, they are going to lose Dave on the rotation through, but Vortex is just going to be a nuisance yet. All the rest of the team going to continue the push through. They're going to have to hunt for Vortex or RAMS. They need to get rid of them if they can. Is he going to be able to find anything? Finds one, should be traded out. Is going to be. And what have the rest of the Orgless squad found for that sacrifice from Vortex? Not very much as Lucky pushes on through, and it's a good defense so far for the Spanish squad.
And this is the problem, really, if you're Orgless. I don't think if any offensive team in this position, you need to have that player filter through, and they really need to make that hero play. That seems to be a key to victory, as it were, for this map. Is continue just getting a player to filter through to A and cause some problems, just turn the attention of the rest of the opposite side to that A capture zone while you make your way towards B, and that just hasn't worked out for Orgless at all as that push fails. Now it's the RAMS just putting Orgless back into their spawn. It's their classic spawn trap here on Garrison Control, one that is so hard to break out of, and with 15 seconds left on the clock, it's do or die in this round at least. As Vortex gets that first kill, Joshh comes in with a trade after JurNii takes out a player. There is still time to make this work, as you say. Nastie picks up Lucky. Nastie gets Envdian as well. The time has stopped with 5 seconds left. If you're Dave, get on the point, at least buy some time for the rest of your team, who actually spawned up relatively close. That's really close to the point. They now have a chance of capturing this zone.
Okay, we'll question it later, maybe, but here we go. 3 seconds on the clock. It just needs to take one good break coming in for RAMS. But you've got to sort of make the decision here for your RAMS. Do you continue to make this push? Mettalz is going to make it maybe a little bit tempting by finding 2 kills. He is going to get wiped out, but with only 1 second, if you are RAMS, you literally just need to get them off the point. But are you going to maybe sacrifice a little bit too much into this one? Envdian is going to find the kill onto Joshh, but Vortex is there to trade things away. But it's the man behind JurNii that's going to cause the pain. That finds 2 kills, and very nicely done by JurNii and by the RAMS squad.
Again, the last few seconds, it's a last-ditch effort. And it was actually these couple of kills here from Nastie that enabled this. But it doesn't work out in the end. Orgless, they end up losing that one. So close, man. And remember, folks, they win this map. They take the series 3-0. They reset the bracket. We see a second best of 5. RAMS don't want to let that one happen.
Absolutely not. Especially in a 3-0 fashion. You know, you can maybe take, I'm going to go to a second best out of 5. The first series between these two in the winners bracket final was super close. So you maybe take that one in the chin, but a 3-0 would leave you with a little bit of worry. It has to be said, Mettalz will find the kill and be traded immediately in the middle of the map. But how is the defense going to work out this time for Orgless? Vortex in the sneaky little spot is going to find one here as well. Smoke going down and just playing Tom Clancy in the corner there, just trying to give himself a little bit of cover, but good work by the Spanish side so far. RAMS have methodically made their way up towards B, haven't necessarily rushed and headfirst down into that. They're taking their time, trying to find these kills. And I think that's the thing is about control. It can either be a game of rushing headfirst down, win the trades out, see what happens, or it can be about taking your time. It's about sort of preparing yourself in the moment. What do you have to do? Just keep an eye on Envdian, number 2 in the spawn of Orgless, just causing issues where he can. And we see Orgless now trying to make this push up, but Envdian still being a thorn in their sides right now. But 50 seconds left to go for the Spanish side to try and get something going here in round number 3.
Envdian needed to stay alive there. I think that was the key thing. All right, fine. You kind of want to go help your team to make sure they're not in the spawn trap, but they can handle themselves. Envdian was doing a great job there of holding back Orgless inside their spawn.
Alive.
And there you go. You know, again, Dave just surviving those kind of situations. Orgless working off the back of that. They've got RAMS all the way back into their spawn. There's not really much RAMS can do about it, to be honest. The Semtex coming down looking for that kill. That's actually get him. Unfortunately, the flak jacket saves him. Nastie not going to be able to finish that one. 15 seconds left on the clock, though, here for the RAMS to find their way out of the spawn. Although we saw Orgless get very close in the prior round. Vortex winning that fight with just 6 seconds left on the clock. You've got players positioned up. You've got players pushing through like Joshh. There's not enough time for a RAMS player to find their way over on B. And Orgless once again. They managed to keep themselves alive here. 2-1 up now in this game. Another good defense from them. And again, it's no surprise. We're on garrison control.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, you know, we're going to start talking about who's having the better sides of things when the defense is... When we're talking about the defense, we're talking about kills. That's where you sort of have to divert your attention very, very shortly. We'll have a look towards the end of this round who is going to get that defensive side or who we deem should get the defensive side. We haven't had any respawns down to 0, so we should be able to just about work it out. From the looks of things, it looks like Orgless are the ones with the slight advantage, but they have had 2 defensive rounds, so bear that in mind. If you are the Rams, though, you have had a convincing defense yourself as well. Expect Orgless to maybe play this one potentially a little bit slower, try to work some kills, and instead of necessarily go for the point completely. Joshh and Co, though, searching around, just looking to try and get some control of B. Not in a bad spot here as Joshh at 12 and 16. You're finding kills in the middle of the map. That's going to open the door now for Joshh to try and make the push through. Where's the rest of your team? There they are. Very well worked by Orgless. B control in their hands.
That's so smart from Joshh. I got to call it out. That's so smart. He actually spots the trophy system, and instead of destroying it, he waits there to make sure the Rams are completely unaware of where he is. Then he waits for his teammates to come in, and as soon as they're ready for it, he gets the call, makes the pounce, and unfortunately, while it doesn't turn out as a capture for that B zone, it was a great moment for Joshh. Get some progress made on B, and now you take a look at the minimap, actually. Vortex has some control over this control. Has to be careful of behind, though, as JurNii's about to make the move. Lucky actually end up taking him down. Now you're going to see Orgless in this awkward position, where they're right back to their spawn. They've got to find a way out.
Stick coming in onto Joshh is unfortunate, but if you're Orgless, it is a difficult spot to be in. You really need to get rid of JurNii up top. Good shots by Nastie once again. B is the goal, though. You need to get rid of Mettalz as well. I think, you know, the Rams are playing this one very, very smart. With 27 seconds left to go, Mettalz finds 2 and can only be taken down by his teammate. The problem is with Joshh and Co here is that they have to get rid of everybody in the middle of the map for the Rams. You got one more push at it, but are they actually even going to go for it? Look at Orgless here. They're sitting back. They're expecting the Rams to push. What's the kills looking like? I think it's just about in favor of Orgless. That's why they're sitting back. The Rams are going to push. They're going to find the kills, but they're set up for it. It's so smart from Orgless. They might be able to get a push onto this one. Not quite quick enough. It is going to be a Rams win, but I like the heads-up play coming in here for Orgless. They should be getting the defensive side.
It's just smart, right? I mean, you just wait for those guys to push, and a little bit overzealous of the Spanish. We took a speak about
They've got to go, though. They need the kills.
The aggression. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, it's the Spanish aggression that we've been speaking about in the past. It was really smart from Orgless to actually make that call, and would you look at it? It works out so well, because now the Rams find themselves on the offense, and we just know how hard these are to win.
Not impossible, but it's unlikely, isn't it? It's somewhat like a little bit of a shame that teams do have to find themselves making those calls to have to go for the kills, but you got to do what you got to do when the game is in it right now, and control really is just so easy on the defense, and Nastie continuing where he left off. 23 and 12, they were ready for this little different push coming out of the Spanish side. Rams tried to brute force their way through top control, and Nastie says no. And that really puts them in a bad spot. That's 3 clean kills that came on through for the Orgless side, and now they can set up. Now it becomes that little bit more difficult for the Rams side on this attack.
There's only a minute on this clock. I mean, it might seem like a lot of time in Call of Duty terms, but that's not the case whatsoever. That's only a couple of pushes, really, at most, before you start to get in trouble. Orgless doing such a great job right now, just holding this map. You need a player like JurNii or Envdian, or Lucky for that matter, to find their way through. Start to pick up this capture zone. They are on B. Now maybe Orgless not worrying just yet. They're going to need to find a way to stop this capture before it happens. And nobody's watching Elbow. I don't know why nobody's watching Elbow. And Nastie capitalizes on that. Yes, they make a ticks progression, but Nastie able to slide through. And that was a push from Rams. I have no idea why they weren't watching it, but punished for it by Nastie. And now just one more push left in them, the Rams. They've got to make this work now.
Yeah, that's a difficult one to watch, it has to be said. If you are the Rams, you got to be watching that when you're on the attack. You're not in a bad position, and that is a free 2-piece for Nastie. It's a free break for Nastie. 10 seconds to go, though, still within their limits here for the Rams. Vortex is there, ready and waiting to make the push if he does need to, waiting for the rest of his team to maybe flank around behind. It's Nastie once again with 2 more kills, make it 3. You wouldn't dare give him the 4th. You don't need to. It's Dave to clean this one up. 29 and 13 out of Nastie. They will take the control. 3-2. Very, very well played in that last round, but you've got a question for the Ram side who was watching that office push. It was just too easy for Nastie, who had a disgusting game there, it has to be said. But look, it comes down to the fact that if you're Orgless, you make the call to then put yourself in a position to get that round number 5 on your defensive side. It has to come down to that. And it's such an awkward position if you are the Rams side. What do? You have to hit the push for the kills, because if you have a quick look, you know you're slightly behind, you make the push for the kills. And if you are Orgless, you play that one very, very smart towards the end of round number 4. And then we find ourselves up to round number 5. You got the defensive side, you hold that. But it's a shame that it is just so easy to defend, and it has to come down to doing that, isn't it? That's unfortunately the case right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, control. It's so hard to make those offensive pushes work. And again, it's just unfortunate that the Rams find themselves in a round number 5 where they are on the offense. And of course, backs well and truly against the wall because they're 2-0 down in this series already. But that means it's a 3-0. We're going to see a bracket reset here. It's much the same as last week, right? Where we saw House Tough come down from the losers bracket, I believe it was. And it's Singularity coming down from the losers bracket and 3-0ing House Tough in the first best of 5. But we know how that went, so this might not be over for the Rams by any means. Before we go to a break, though, I do want to say, really well played there from that Orgless roster. There were a few plays in that where you could see they were really thinking it through and making sure that they played it correctly, and it definitely paid off as they end up taking that one.
100%. Let's send it to a quick break, though, because we will have to go through vetoes, etc., before we do get into the second best out of 5. They might have already done them, but it doesn't make sense if they have. Of course, things may change around for the Spanish team. They are going to need to change around. A 3-0 on the first best out of 5 will give this Orgless squad a very, very significant amount of confidence heading into the second one. So we will be back for that very, very shortly. We will see you then.